Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter World. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the Gunlance build that I'm currently working on. Now, if you guys weren't aware, yesterday I made a video where I asked you guys to tell me which weapon would you like to see me play the most, and I gave you 4 choices. Now, I had a poll set up both on Twitter and YouTube, and you guys casted your votes, and the weapon that won on both polls was actually the Gunlance. It wasn't really by a landslide, though, because the Charge Blade trailed in very close behind, which means that you guys are really interested in seeing me play both the Gunlance as well as the Charge Blade. So naturally, we're going to be starting with the Gunlance, and I'm going to be focusing my efforts on actually creating a gear set that I would feel is adequate for the Gunlance. And once we're done with that, and once I feel like I've got a good mastery of the Gunlance and make a couple more Gunlance videos, we're going to start working on the Charge Blade as well and go a little bit more in depth with the Charge Blade. Now, this particular this particular build is not finalized yet. I'm currently only at Hunter rank 49 because basically I had to switch all of my strategy that I was working toward with the Sword and Shield to now fit my new weapon of the Gunlance. So last night I actually spent quite a great deal of time farming for additional gun lances, different armor pieces that I started using that would benefit me more with the gun lance than they would with the Sword and Shield. And also shout out to Fightin' Cowboy for hosting me last night on live stream. That was awesome, dude. We had like 800 people watching the live stream. It was friggin' fantastic. And also shout out to a German spy for hanging out with me during that live stream. Had a blast hanging out with him during those times. Now, let's get into the actual specifics of the current build that I'm working on. So, if you guys are looking at the screen right now, you'll notice that we have all of the skills that I currently have available to myself. Now, before I go into each individual gear piece, I just want to go over the skills that you guys can see on the right side. And we have level 4 attack boost. The reason we're going for level 4 and attack boost is because if you notice right here, you will notice that that is where you start gaining affinity. So I wanted to have 4 minimum. I might eventually put more into it as I get more gems, because right now the main problem is that I quite simply don't have the gems that I need to actually complete this set, and I cannot meld the specific gems that I need at my current Hunter rank. So basically I need to go take care of the Tempered Karen and do a bunch of that stuff. I'll be doing that in the live stream later, but attack boost, level 4, because that's where you start getting affinity. Artillery, level 3. Why? I mean, this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you want to get artillery level 3 because it's going to increase the power of each of your shell attack by 30%, and it is going to reduce the cooldown of Wyvern's Fire by 50%, making you essentially be able to Wyvern's Fire every minute, which is pretty decent, even though Wyvern's Fire sometimes feels a little bit underwhelming compared with other things that you can do with the Gunlance. It's still something that I'm trying to wrap my head around, like what is the best optimal rotation. I've heard all about the whole slam down into burst fire, into slam down again, repeat at infinite. It's not really something that I like all that much, but it does deal a crap ton of damage. Either way, this is also going to help with that because each of those burst fires is going to be dealing increased 30% damage per shell. So obviously having maximum artillery, something that you would want to have. Then you'll notice that we have fire resistance there. That's just because I have a bunch of gems lying around and I don't have gems that I can actually use to optimize the set. So I just swap those around to whatever resistance I happen to need for the monsters that I'm going to be fighting. Then we have Tier 2 Weakness Exploit. I actually want to max that out so that we get maximum. Naturally, Weakness Exploit is going to increase your affinity by a whole bunch. Right now it's increasing 30%. Once I get it to level 3, it will increase 50% our affinity whenever we are hitting weak spots. That's quite a bit. Then we also have Tier 2 Agitator, which essentially increases your attack as well as your affinity whenever a monster around you is enraged. Still not sure this is a good use of my points. It's still something that I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to put more into Agitator or not. It's just I happen to have that particular set piece already around, so for now I'm going to keep using it, and I'm going to keep testing out if that is how I feel I want to keep doing stuff. But right now it's granting me plus 8 attack and plus 6% affinity whenever a monster enrages. Then we got Maximum Might, and because of the fact that with the Gunlance, you're really only going to be expending stamina whenever you are running around, because if you're standing still dealing damage to the boss, you're actually not spending stamina, so you're gonna be at maximum stamina a lot of times. And essentially whenever your stamina is full, I get plus 20% affinity, so I'm going for as much affinity as I possibly can. Then you got a couple of random gems in there like Health Boost, Park Breaker, Resuscitate. Resuscitate's actually really good. and then an additional skill at the end, which is capacity boost. Now that one's actually important. I wasn't even aware that this was a thing until someone told me in stream last night. But essentially, this is going to increase your Gunlance's shell capacity. So what does this mean? Essentially, if you have a normal Gunlance, you're going to have 6 shots. If you have a long Gunlance, you're going to have 4 shots instead of 3. If you have a wide Gunlance, you're going to have 3 shots instead of 2. Which is obviously important for burst fire, but also important to be able to chain your combos more. Basically, you're going to have more shots with your Gunlance. It's a pretty important skill, at least in my opinion. So essentially, these are the gear pieces that we are using to achieve that particular effect. Now, naturally, the Gunlance, you will want to change the Gunlance that you are using depending on the monster that you are fighting. Right now, I got Eradication Flame, which, to be completely honest, I don't like it that much. I want to craft Valhazak's one. I think that one might be better. This one has a ton of raw damage, which is why I crafted it, but the shelling is extremely disappointing, so I don't know. Either way, let's talk about the gear. Nergigante's Helm Alpha. I went with the Alpha version because it's got 2 points into the maximum might, as well as 1 point into attack boost. And since, like I said, I don't have that many attack boost gems, I figured I would use that, and I get that attack boost there. We got Rathalos Male Beta. I was also using this on my sword and board combo, which is what is giving us the weakness exploit, because I'm not going to use the Dragon King eye patch that everybody else is using, because instead I want to get maximum might in its place. And the helmet for Nergigante is what gives you the most maximum might. And therefore, I'm getting my weakness exploit out of the Rathalos Male Beta chest piece. Then we got the Nergigante Vambraces, which, like I said, this is a piece that I'm still considering if I'm going to keep in my set or if I'm going to change it around. If I'm going to keep it in the set, I'm going to have to get more Agitator Gems to really make it work, which, again, is one of the reasons why I don't know if this is sticking around or if I'm going to replace it with something else. I'm still considering that particular choice there. Nergigante Coil, because it's got attack boost, and I need to get at least some attack boost to raise it up to, at the very minimum, level 4. I might actually increase that beyond level 4 to get more attack. As a matter of fact, the Vambraces are a good candidate for being replaced for something with more attack right now. And then we have the Dodogama Greaves, which is what gives us the capacity boost skill. And so far, this set has been pretty good for me. I like the damage that it's dealing. It's just it needs a couple of adjustments in terms of the gems and stuff that I'm getting. And then naturally we have Artillery Charm 3. So of course you can change stuff around. You can get a different charm. Like some that you could do is you could go get artillery someplace else in your set. It's just I also don't have artillery gems, and I wanted to make sure at the very least I would have tier 3 artillery. And the easiest way for me to get it, since I can't get some of the gems that I need, it was going to be to just like, look, just max out an artillery charm, and I will have maximum artillery from the get-go, which is why I farmed Teostra last night, got that gem, got all of that stuff, and boom, artillery charm in there. The mantle is just whatever I happen to need at the time. But yeah, this right now is the build that I'm currently working with, and I'm also very curious, what do you guys think about this build? Because probably at this point, since I've been specializing so much in Sword and Shield, there's been a lot more of you guys that if you've stuck with the Gunlance, you've probably been toying with these kinds of sets longer than I have. So I'm curious. Let's get a discussion going. Let's see what you guys are rocking. There's actually a channel in my Discord if you want to go share your builds there as well. Discord is in the description of this video if you guys want to check that out. But it's like, let's get a discussion going. Like, what do you guys think of the set that I'm working with? I know that I think I'm a little bit too affinity heavy, but I really do like those critical hits. And I know that potentially the Gunlance not the best weapon for benefiting that much from critical hits, because you also deal a lot of your damage from shelling, and shelling isn't really being affected by the affinity, because shelling is just, it's going to deal whatever damage it's going to deal based on the level of the shelling and on the type of the shelling, and that's that. Nothing in your gear is going to affect the shelling except for the artillery charm, at least as far as I'm aware of it. But at the same time, I do a lot of melee attacks, because you don't just sit at range spamming shells, right? So there's a lot of wiggle room in this to mess around and figure out which ways work better and whatnot. And yeah, I just want to get a discussion going around that. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching this video. Comments, feedback, all this stuff in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.